Tokarev Shooters channel coming to you here, and today I want to talk about reliability of some weapons that I've owned. And to start off with, I'm going to start off with the first gun that I ever bought in my whole life on my own, and that was a pair of Jennings J22s. Okay, now these were Saturday Night Special pot metal guns. One of them was blued and beat to shit, but had a really clean bore. Looked like it had been carried a lot, but not shot a lot. Whereas the other one I bought was a chrome-plated one, and it was shot to shit and had a completely shot-out barrel, but was really clean, like it had never been carried and looked almost brand new on the outside. So I decided to buy both of them on a small amount paid at the pawn shop, at a local pawn shop. I got a deal on both of them. Each one came with a spare clip, and I think I paid $200 out the door for both of them with a spare clip. So, I mean, very cheap guns. And it said specifically on the box not to shoot CCI Stingers. So the first thing I did was I bought 500 rounds of CCI Stingers and decided I'd shoot them until they blew up. Here they are. And after I shot about... I actually made it through about 500 rounds in the black one. Between CCI mini-mags, Velocitors, and Stingers, or as 22 Plankster would say, Stankers. And it finally had a failure. The slide actually flew off the gun because the slide stop broke. And so I pretty much threw it in the trash can, kept the extra clips, like kept the parts that were in good shape on it so I could sell them. And started shooting the silver one, or chrome one, and I got through about 200 rounds of it because it was shot to shit already, like I said, and the slide literally blew up on the final CCI Stinger, and it blew a big fireball, probably 3 times the length of the gun out of the barrel, and then pow, the slide came off just like the other one. I figured, oh, slide stop broke. And I bent down, and the slide was in pieces. I was picking up pieces of my gun. Nothing hit me, and it wasn't violent, because the pressure of a 22 long rifle is pathetic. So, I mean, it wasn't really dangerous. It was more for fun, but nonetheless, it was a learning experience. Then my next gun was a FEG AP63, no, it was an AP 7.63. 32 caliber Walther PPK clone, or a I can't remember if it was a PPK clone or if it was a Makarov clone. I think it was it was a PPK clone. That gun was a tack driver up to 25 yards. I mean, just put one bullet on top of the other, and it had the snappiest and most painful recoil out of all my guns that I owned at that time, all the way up to a 10mm. I shit you not. It was a straight blowback 32 ACP, and it was violent to your hand. It didn't slide bite you or anything. It just had a really snappy recoil that was uncomfortable to shoot. I really didn't like it that much. And the ammo is pretty expensive for 32 ACP, but it was still an interesting gun, and it was very reliable. I had 0 failures with it. Not one failure to eject, not one failure to fire, not one failure to attain full battery, not a mag dropout, nothing. It was just perfect, and I loved that gun. And I should have never got rid of it, honestly, but I traded it in part for a really, really sweet 1988 Thunderbird Turbo Coupe, so I don't really feel bad about that one at all. Then after that, I bought a Walther PK380, which is, to this day, one of the favorite guns I have ever owned. It was reliable, it was accurate, it was easy to shoot, and even though it was designed for women and I have massive hands, I mean, I'm 6'4", 225 pounds, it was just so comfortable in the hand and so slim and low profile for a blocky gun that's kind of got the shape of a Glock. But I mean, it was just, Walther knocked it out of the park with that one. There were some recalls on some of them. I bought mine after the recall. I can't remember what it was. I think because it was striker fired, and so I think it might, no, that one wasn't striker fired. but the the firing pin safety would break and allow them to fire if you hit the hammer hard enough or something like that, or drop the gun wrong or something. Mine had a metal one, so it was no longer a problem, but just an incredible pistol, really nice. 100% reliability through probably 1,500 rounds. I mean, just an awesome gun. Then after that, I bought a Bersa Thunder Pro high capacity 9mm. And that one was a little more expensive. I think I paid $450 or something for that one. And it was a 17+1 full size 9mm. I can't remember if it was a CZ75 or Browning high power clone or something, but it was a really comfortable gun because it was such a big blocky grip that my huge hands, it was actually quite nice. And it had almost zero recoil, I remember that. And it was a really, really good shooter. Super accurate. It did have a couple of reliability issues with steel-cased ammo. Really didn't like it at all. When I was trying to shoot some Herder's Select 9mm nylon jacketed rounds, they were super accurate out of it, but I did have some reliability issues with the steel case. When I lubed the feed ramp, honestly, never had a problem again. So I think it needed to smooth the feed ramp, but I didn't know enough about guns and wasn't comfortable enough with them at that point to do it myself. So that was another gun I traded on that T-Bird. Then after that, I bought a Arcus 98DA 9mm Browning high power clone. That was my favorite pistol. After that, I bought a Arcus 98DA 9mm Browning high power clone. That was my favorite pistol for reliability and accuracy. That was my favorite pistol I've ever owned. I have a video on another channel of mine called Big Turbo GT, which is my original YouTube channel. I have about 300 videos. It's mainly car stuff about building my car, but if you scroll all the way back to a few years back, there's a couple of videos of me shooting that Arcus, and it was just a tack driver, an incredible gun, super accurate. It was just amazing. It really was. So after the Arcus, I bought a 6-inch Dan Wesson 357 Magnum for $200, I think. Really beat. The cylinder timing was a little bit off to where when you'd fire it'd shape bullets, so I mean every once in a while you'd get a little shit shooting out of the side of the cylinder, so if somebody is next to you they get caught with some metal and it hurt. So I shot that gun maybe 3 or 4 times and then I got rid of it. I wasn't really trying to take it to a gunsmith. It wasn't worth it at that point. It was really beat. The bore was pretty beat. Somebody had been shooting some hot loads out of it. So I got rid of that, and then I bought a, what was the next one? I bought a Norinco 213 two-tone, and this gun I regret getting rid of more than any other gun I've ever had. That two-tone Norinco was extremely rare. It was a very nice pistol. It shot well. It was accurate like any Tokarev. There was plentiful parts, and it had some really cool things. Somebody had ported the trigger previously and done an excellent job, and it was polished. It wasn't blued or anything like that. Had the two-tone silver black. It had the magazine pinky extension, and had a polished hammer. But I was out firing it one day, and I probably fired 500 rounds out of it. And at this point, I still didn't know a lot about guns. I was an excellent shot, but I didn't have a knowledge of how the internals of a gun work like I do now, especially with Tokarevs. So I dropped hammer, aiming at my target, totally safe, going to fire my first round in the clip after like 500 or 600 rounds that day. Well, like 5 or 6 boxes of ammo, so probably 250 rounds. And it emptied the gun. It went full automatic. It just emptied the clip. And come to find out later, it was because there was still some cosmoline in the gun. I mean, it was almost brand new. It was a beautiful gun. I got it for like $200, and I shouldn't have got rid of it though. 2 tons are worth so much more. And I got almost $300 for it, but still, the pawn shop bought it back and then gave me some extra money on top in-store credit for the inconvenience, which was really cool. It's a pawn shop I bought 35 guns from, so they take care of me. But it was just scary for me at that point. I expected 1 round to fire and and the gun flies up in the air, from the recoil, because you're not ready for multiple rounds when you're squeezing off one. And there was a surprising amount of push. So I shot a bunch of rounds into the air, and if it had kept going, it probably would have killed me and my buddy, or could have hurt somebody, or it was a scary experience. And I just immediately took the gun back, and I regret doing that, because I easily could have fixed that, knowing what I know now, and that the firing pin was just gummed up and it was stuck in the firing position. But I regret getting rid of it. I really missed that gun. When I took the Norinco back, I ended up getting 2 guns at the same time. I bought a Stevens 325-A bolt-action 30-30 carbine and a Marlin Model 60 22 caliber semi-automatic. And both of those were 100% reliable. That 30-30 was one of the most fun little carbines I've ever had. Iron sights with your buddies at 100 yards, shooting shit with a 30-30, blowing watermelons up, and it was louder than a lever action 30-30 carbine, because it was a short barrel, and really high twist on the barrel. It was like 1 1/8-inch twist, so it was really tight, so that thing really got a spin on that bullet and stabilized it, and it was a tack driver. I shouldn't have got rid of that gun either. That was the final gun I traded for that Thunderbird, along with an 88 Accord LXI and those 3 guns. But anyway, that gun was a lot of fun. Expensive to shoot. 30-30 wasn't cheap, but I just used the Hornady Lever Revolution, and that was excellent ammo, just absolutely accurate. Sometimes it'd throw big fireballs out the barrel because it was made for a 20-inch barrel or whatever, 24-inch barrel, and it was coming out of an 18-inch, or it might have even been 16.5-inch barrel, I can't remember. Then the Marlin was 100% reliable, except for normal 22 ammunition problems. None of it was the gun, and I always kept it clean. And it was accurate. It was very accurate for having a cheap scope on it. It had a 2-power Tasco scope on it, so nothing special. But you could hit cans with it at 50, 60 yards easily. Then I bought a what was that, a Savage Model 340-KA 22 caliber bolt action, I think. It was a Mossberg 340K. I don't know. I can't remember, but it was the most accurate bolt action 22 I've ever had. I hit a couple of steel targets at, I shit you not, 360 yards with that 22, 10 shots in a row with CCI velocitors. It was the most, I don't know what it was about it. It was a 1951 manufacturer, I think, or 1961, one of the two. And it had been fired probably 10,000 times. The bore had, obvious signs of wear and everything, but that thing was just, it was more accurate than my goddamn 30-30. It was more accurate than my AR that I had later on. It was more accurate than all my guns that I had at that point. To a point, out to a certain distance. Then my next gun was my first AR build, my only AR build, which was a DPMS upper with a Rock Island Armory lower and Rock River internals, and a Vortec green red dot, and Shonsky muzzle brake. But, and it was cool for a 223. It was accurate, reliable to a point. I kept having gas block issues. But it was about $700 to build it. No, not even that. It was about $590 to build it before the optic, which was $160. So it ended up being about $700. But that was a good gun. It was fun, cool, but it was just a cheap build. So I mean, nothing super special. After that, I got a Kel Tec P40, which was a wrist-breaking little motherfucker, man. That thing was the death to all fun at the range, man. Like, you saved that motherfucker until you were done shooting at the end of the day and just wanted to see some fireballs and super loud and piss off everybody at the range and then leave like, hey, fuck you guys. Kind of like my Tokarev does now. But it was just ridiculous. 40 caliber in a Kel Tec PF9 frame, like size gun, was just 40 caliber in a Glock is snappy. I hate Glock, by the way, but I mean, this thing was just absolutely monstrosity, and I fucking hated it. And I got $100 more than I paid. I paid $180 for it at the pawn shop because they couldn't sell it because nobody wanted that little fucker. I'm a big guy, so I decided to try it. And it was too much for me. It literally would make my wrist sore for a week after shooting 4 clips. I mean, it was just nasty. Nasty little wrist breaker. It hurt more than the Action Express Desert Eagle. I'm not kidding. And that is a wrist-breaking little motherfucker. Big motherfucker, I should say. But, yeah, that P40 was not accurate. It was not reliable. It stovepiped all the goddamn time. But I got 280. Actually, I got 300 even for it from some kid that was just turned 21 and wanted it as a carry piece. He was a quarterback at a high school that I went to, and he thought he could shoot it, so I ended up asking him like a week later if he kept it. He was like, no, I shot 1 clip of that motherfucker, and I gave it to my buddy and went out and bought an XDM9. Or XDM, whatever. But, yeah, it was that piece of shit. I hate Kel Tec P40. I'd never buy another one. After that, I got my Palmetto AR47 with a Vortex red-green dot, and that is a Palmetto-made AR-15 chambered in 7.62 by 39. That was my favorite AR that I've ever owned. I'm not going to get into some of the other ARs I had because they're not really worth mentioning. They're similar to the first one. But yeah, fool me once. I did a couple of those builds with cheap shit and realized that I should just go buy a complete that's already done and then build off of that. But that Palmetto was an amazing gun, but some financial hardships came up lately and I ended up having to get rid of it, and I miss it greatly. It was an incredible gun. I'll probably never be able to find or afford again, and I hope to God that maybe the pawn shop will never sell it and someday I'll come up on some money and I'll go and there it will be and I'll be able to buy it back, even if I pay more than I got for it. But I traded a $100 car for that gun, 5 clips, the Vortex green red dot, and 500 rounds of ammo, so I was pretty happy with that come up, and I got a lot more than that for it, but it was still irritating that I had to get rid of it. But that was my favorite AR. My Colt Woodsman Target 6-inch, which I also regret getting rid of, but again, financial hardship. Recently became a single dad, so I had to get rid of it. And I got $800 for it, and was able to buy my Tokarev and my SAR B6P and pocket $300, which I was able to pay some bills I needed to pay with. So I was pretty happy with that. That ended up being a pretty good dealio. But the Woodsman was a tack driver 22 pistol. That's one of the reasons why Plinkster uses it for his trick shots. It's a great gun, and I shouldn't have got rid of it. I really shouldn't have got rid of it. That is an extremely rare gun to find, and they go for a premium sometimes, and it only would have been worth more money, and it was in perfect unfired condition when I got it too. I fired the fuck out of it. I probably put 1,000 rounds through it, but but it was still, I kept it in excellent condition. And I could have got more than 800, but money talks, you know. Me to my 3 latest guns, the ones that I have now. I have 2 other guns, but they're not currently here. They're getting fixed because I got them for really cheap because they were broken on Gunbroker, so I will reveal those later, and I don't consider them in my possession yet, but I got my SAR Arms B6P 9mm, which is my current carry gun, and it is 100% reliable through 1,500 rounds of plus P it's not rated for, and normal ammo, ball, and hollow point. And it is just an incredible, the most value for a gun I've ever gotten in my life. If it was priced at $600, it would be worth it, and it's priced at about $250. And mine came with an extra magazine. It was a Pro Mag, but it works fine. And that's rare. The B6P, that's the one gripe about it, is CZ75 and CZ75B mags work in it, which is really nice, but there's no aftermarket for them whatsoever, and it's really hard to find parts for it. So it was nice that it came with an extra mag, since Sarzelmaz doesn't include a spare mag with the gun. And it comes in a nice box and shit, and it's about, on average, $250 to $300, depending on what you get with the gun and what condition it's in. But I got mine brand new for like $260 or something with a spare clip. And it's a CZ75 clone with a polymer lower, and I absolutely have had no issues with it. Even when I was running steel case, brass case, nickel-plated steel case, like all sorts of shit. It didn't have any issues with any type of ammo. The 20 different kinds of ammo I put through it. Some old-ass 9mm Luger rounds from World War II, just experimenting to see if they'd blow up, which I never got on video, and it never had an issue. Not one time. Oh, my bad.